to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to Leadership Insights Radio.
Thanks for joining me today. I'm Wade Taylor, and I'm happy to be joined on this show by Henry Herz. He is a partner at Lean Business Solutions, and I encourage you to learn more about him online at www.sdleansolutions.com. And all of us are running our companies the best we can, but our efficiencies can always be improved. And there are people out there that have learned how to make any and every company operate more efficiently in all of their processes. And that is predominantly what Henry and his partners are doing at Lean Business Solutions. So, Henry, help us understand a little bit about what your typical clients are coming through the door, what kind of problems that they're bringing to you because they aren't operating as efficiently as they could.
So when a company is not operating efficiently, that'll manifest itself in several ways. Their costs will be too high, that it will take them too long to complete things that they think they should be able to finish faster. They'll be producing product or services that aren't quite what the customer wants. They'll be
So it sounds kind of like if they're having issues in delivery, if they're not getting their deliverables out the door in time, if they're getting a high return rate, or maybe their complaint line has spiked, those are probably pretty big flags that just something in the operation of the company isn't working right.
That's right. You mentioned defects as well, and another symptom of a company that needs some help is when the employees themselves are not energized about what they do. If they're not engaged, that's often a symptom of lack of efficiency. The employees aren't feeling valued for what they can bring.
Okay. Now, you're talking about efficiencies, but right there you touched upon what you might call culture. And at Lean Business Solutions, are you teaching people how to cover all those bases, or is it mostly about specific processes?
It's all of the things we talked about. It's
okay.
Because you are basically talking about changing the DNA of a company. You're talking about instilling a continuous improvement mindset, and that's a change for most companies. And it's a very, very competitive way for them to be. But like any change, it's got its challenges.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're encouraging them to be conscious of that. As I discuss with many, business owners as well as advisors on these shows, we get busy building the widgets, and we forget everything that goes along with building those widgets, which includes brand building, building a culture so our employees are buying in, as well as making sure that our processes are as efficient as possible. And it sounds like you are encompassing all of that in the training you're providing.
Yes, and we use the term process in its broadest sense. So this teaching is not limited to manufacturing. It's also applicable to transactional processes. So when I say that, I mean anything that you do day in and day out over and over again is a process. So if you're a mortgage company and you're processing loans, if you're a manufacturer and you're making stuff, if you're a software development company and you're producing software, all of those things involve repeated steps. And anytime you have repeated steps, there's a great opportunity to shave out the wasteful steps or wasteful segments of those steps and save yourself time and money and reduce mistakes and get your employees more energized about what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be more energized because they understand what they're doing is more effective. And so, as I understand, a phrase or a name for this is Lean Six Sigma training. Help me understand what that identifies.
Sure. So we didn't come up with this. We're using tried and true techniques that were developed decades ago. Toyota is a famous, obviously a very successful car manufacturer. They came up with something that was originally called the Toyota Production System and is now called Lean, which is a lot easier to say. But Lean is a series of techniques that is focused on reducing waste. If you can cut out unnecessary steps, you can complete the product or service in less time with less cost and often with fewer defects. Six Sigma is another process improvement methodology, but it was developed at Motorola making integrated circuits. And Six Sigma is more focused on improving quality, reducing defects, reducing variation. Six Sigma says variation is evil, and they don't mean variation in people. We like diversity in people. They mean variation in outputs. You want your processes to be the same every time so you get a consistent output. If you're making chocolate chip cookies and you use a different recipe every time, sometimes they'll be good, but sometimes they won't be so good. So Six Sigma is like you have a recipe and you follow it precisely every time and you get great cookies every time, no defects, no burned cookies, no soggy cookies.
And no disappointed customers.
Right.
They're getting what they're expecting.
Exactly. Lean puts a premium on value, and value is determined by the customer. So if the customer says, I want chocolate chip cookies with walnuts, don't give them chocolate chip cookies with pecans because they didn't ask for it. Don't give it to them because you think pecans are better than walnuts. Give the customer exactly what they're asking for. The classic example of that is I've seen these Swiss Army knives they look like they have 100 blades on them, right?
Right.
So a Swiss Army knife with 10 blades is handy and it fits in your pocket. And so somebody thought, well, if 10 is good, 100 is 10 times better, right? But not necessarily. You're raising the cost. A customer may not need those extra blades and they're not willing to pay for the extra blades.
Yeah, fundamentally understanding and meeting customer needs. And so it sounds like because this is so expansive, it's something that could apply to any business. There isn't a business that couldn't benefit from this kind of training.
Yes. I mean, I suppose if a business does one-offs every time, if you're in the business of putting people on the moon, that's not something you do repeatedly over and over and over again. But almost every company has repeated processes, and even companies that are not manufacturing, or let me back that up. Even manufacturing companies, they have their manufacturing processes, which they do over and over again, but they've also got their transactional processes. And every company that hires people has an onboarding process, right? Every company has an accounts payable department. They pay their bills. That's a repeated process. So I'm in the fortunate position of being able to truthfully say that pretty much any company could benefit from lean training because every company, as far as I can tell, has processes they do over and over again.
And then I'd like to kind of stress again the fact that within those processes is the company culture, because having the employees buying in and motivated to do that job well, combined with knowing the job they're doing is sensible and is efficient, is really where the strength of a company lies, correct? Absolutely.
And I used to work at SAIC many years ago. The Dr. Beister was the CEO, and he was famous for saying, no one of us is as smart as all of us. And Lean says, empower your workers. The people doing the job day in and day out are the ones that know best how to improve that. That was a dramatic change. If you think back to the early 1900s with Henry Ford's rolling out Model Ts, those old factories, the workers were valued for their hands alone. Your job is to bolt the carburetor on the engine block. Don't do anything else. Toyota, after that, in the 50s and 60s, started changing that and said, no, we want your input. If you think of a better way to do that, tell us. If we're seeing a defect where some of the time the carburetor is bolted on backwards, it's a rectangular base and somebody's putting it on backwards, well, maybe we change the design so it's more of a trapezoid, so there's no way to put it on the wrong way. So the people that are going to identify that are the people doing the job. And you're exactly right about there's a lot of psychology in lean, and it's not just at the worker level. Management has to be open to change, open to the things that are not invented by them, and they have to be willing to empower their employees. They have to be willing to say, okay, I trust you enough to invest in you training-wise and to invest in you in terms of being willing to listen to you. You're going to be coming with ideas, and I should be listening to them, not like in that episode of The Office where Michael Scott has the suggestion box that is 3 years old and dusty because he's never looked at it.
Right. So there's benefit that comes from that, and that's what I want to get into here in a moment, because there is going to be effort in implementing this. Like you said, that executive, that manager has to be willing to take that internal hit, you might say, of opening themselves up from their normal routines. They've got to make the effort to attend the training. They've got to do things to implement it. So there's got to be a payoff for that at the end. Can you help us understand a little bit about both how a company can become more lean and the economic advantages that will accrue from making that effort?
Sure. That's a big question. So the short answer to how they can become more lean is to start off by having some lean training. And of course, I'm happy to say that that's one of the services my company provides. We come in and do lean training, familiarize everybody. Lean says teach everybody in the company. You don't just teach the upper management, or don't just teach the workers. You teach the middle management. You teach everybody, because everybody's in a position to observe waste and to come up with ideas for getting rid of it. So we do the training, and then there's a series of steps that you take. Then following the training, there's some facilitation and consulting that we can do to help lead you down the lean path to get to a place where you're producing whatever product or service at a lower cost or in less time, with fewer mistakes, with happier employees. Your turnover rate may go down. So there's definitely a return on investment. You just have to be patient, because we're talking about changing the culture of a company, and it doesn't happen overnight. We can train everybody quickly, but it takes a while to start analyzing how you do things and figuring out what changes you want to make, making those changes, and then monitoring to see, okay, we just made that change. Are we seeing an improvement? Yes, we are. No, we're not. Hopefully you are.
Okay. And just to give us some context, how long should somebody anticipate the process to be, in, say, a typical situation? Obviously, there's always variability, but is this like a year-long process to really get everybody on board?
That's a great question. And we actually, in our training, we have a slide. We use a tree metaphor, and there's sort of 4 levels of
well, here, tell you what, we'll come back to that tree metaphor in a moment, but it will be worth the effort, because making your company more efficient and your employees more engaged does improve your bottom line. We're learning from Henry Herz, partner at Lean Business Solutions. Learn about him online at sdleansolutions.com. Back in a moment here on WS Radio.
If you heard that sound, you probably are eligible for insurance from Navy Mutual, insuring the men and women of the Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard. Here's what one policyholder, retired Navy Commander Thomas Dade, had to say.
Navy Mutual is the best insurance decision I ever made. I wish you had a savings plan available that earned the rates my Navy Mutual insurance has been earning.
Navy Mutual Aid Association, started by military members in 1879, serves active, reserve, and retired military today. Navy Mutual honors our military by providing them affordable life insurance with the features they need without fine print, sales fees, or military service restrictions. Value, integrity, trust, and stability are the cornerstones on which our commitment to you and your loved ones are built. Call Navy Mutual at 1-800-628-6011 or NavyMutual.org for your personal life insurance plan consultation. 1-800-628-6011 or NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
Chris Murch, Captain Email here, former owner of WS Radio, back in studios with 21 tips to increase sales. And they're real easy to get. Just whip out that smartphone, even that phone that still does texting, and text 21 tips to 22828. That's 21 tips to 22828. 21 tips, no space, to 22828, and you'll be getting 2 tips a day for the next 2 weeks.
We see it every day. Courts overflowing with frivolous lawsuits. People losing all of their assets simply because they were unprepared. The best defense against unscrupulous predators and creditors is a good offense. At Corporate Direct, we use the latest legal tools to help our clients of all sizes and from all over the world create a strategy to protect what is theirs. Think asset protection is only for the wealthy? Think again. Our Cover Your Assets strategies and tools are very affordable and practical. Industry leader Corporate Direct is owned and operated by attorney and best-selling author Garrett Sutton. Give us a call at 1-800-600-1760 or go to corporatedirect.com to see how we can tailor a CYA plan for you. That's CYA, Cover Your Assets, with Corporate Direct. 1-800-600-1760. That's 1-800-600-1760 for corporatedirect.com.
Save your cash while increasing your sales. Every business knows cash is king. Quit paying out your cash while maintaining all the services you need. At the same time, increase sales with new customers. Sound too good to be true? It's not. WS Radio has done it using traditional business practices. We will even give you $250 in services just to give it a try. Log on to WSRadio.com/barter. That's WSRadio.com/barter.